Hey there folks, John here with Through My Lens, and today I'm coming to you with another gun video. This time we'll be taking a look at the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Compact and some of the upgrades that I've made to this firearm to make it suitable for me for concealed carry. So about a month ago you saw fans of this channel and of the website throughmylens.org saw that I did a review of this gun, the Smith & Wesson M&P M2.0 Compact. And I've owned the gun since June, so almost for 6 months, and really bought it out of almost nostalgia and curiosity because I had tried the M&P 2.0 a couple of times at SHOT Show the past 2 years, and the ergonomics are just intriguing on the gun. It just really fits my hand nicely. It feels really nice in hand. For those of you that don't know, I used to carry an M&P Compact, the old 12-round Compact, and we'll be bringing that in shortly because I'll be showing you several firearms that I conceal carry from time to time. All of these, well, with the exception of the 12-round M&P Compact, will be iron sight guns because occasionally I do carry guns that have iron sights. So what did I do to this firearm? You probably can see that the trigger has been replaced. That's the Apex Duty and Carry Action Enhanced trigger for the M&P 2.0 Compact. And I took it to a gunsmith, had it installed. When I went to pick it up, I tried the trigger, and the first couple of times I dry fired, quite honestly, I couldn't tell much of a difference, if any, from the stock M&P trigger, other than the fact that it wasn't the polymer hinge trigger, which I really don't care for, truth be told. But the pull characteristics were really not all that changed. So quite honestly, I was a little bit disappointed because probably the gun with the best trigger in my entire collection is the previously mentioned M&P version 1 Compact. This is the 12 round. By the way, you'll see all these guns have a magazine in them because I think they look better that way, but they've all been cleared. But this trigger is amazing. This is a truly 1911-like trigger. There's almost no take up there, clean break, and the return has negligible movement as well. Not a very audible reset, somewhat tactile, but really just the best striker fire trigger I've ever tried, and this is the forward sear set. So I had previous experience with Apex. They have a legendary reputation, particularly when it comes to M&Ps, although in recent years they have expanded to doing replacement triggers for other firearms. When I originally tested the trigger for my written photo review, that can be found on Through My Lens. Keep in mind this is just a video supplement to that article that can be found on Through My Lens, and the link is in the description box. But when I originally reviewed this and did a trigger pull test with my alignment trigger gauge, the trigger on this Apex kit actually pulled heavier than the stock trigger did. And I'm told by folks online that if you want a lighter trigger, use the Smith & Wesson stock spring, which I guess I should have researched more before I did the work. But to me, again, it was very disappointing, not only because of the trigger weight, but you will see that there is a lot of take-up in that trigger as well. Feels good though, very clean break, very nice reset. If you shoot to reset, it's really nice. So again, the Lyman trigger gauge said that was, just over 6 pounds, whereas the stock trigger was just under 6 pounds. Now, I've done a lot of range testing to confirm reliability, done a lot of dry fire with it. I've probably put 300 rounds and, probably got 1,000 trigger pulls. And I Just before this video, I reran the alignment trigger gauge test, and it has worn in a little bit. It has dropped in weight. It is now pretty much identical to where the stock trigger was at just under 6 pounds. So, in terms of my thoughts on that, really it's fine. It really is fine. My ideal trigger weight for something for concealed carry is going to be between 3 and probably at the high end 6 pounds. So this probably comes in at the high end of that. But within that range, I don't think most shooters are going to tell a difference. I can't. And you might be saying, whoa, you're saying that you're not going to be able to tell a 3-pound trigger from a 6-pound trigger? It depends, and I'll explain. So here we have my Sig, one of my Sigs. It's P320 Compact in FTE. This has not been sent in for the voluntary upgrade, and I probably won't because it has the Gray Guns pelt trigger in it, and this one is awesome. Very little take-up. Nice break. Long reset. Really, really like that trigger. Very smooth, very clean. And guys, believe it or not, that breaks at just under 4 pounds. And really, when I compare that trigger to this one, the trigger pull characteristics are different. This has long take-up, very short reset. The one we just saw has a very short take-up, but a long reset. So they're kind of opposites in that regard, but when you're shooting them, you really can't tell much of a difference at all, particularly from a weight standpoint. I shoot them equally well, from a trigger standpoint at least. A couple of others here that I've got on the table. You already saw the M&P, the first generation compact, and that trigger. And as nice as that trigger is, when I got that out, because I've had it kind of as a safe clean for a while, when I brought it out and I tried that trigger, I thought it was like a 2-pound trigger, but put it on the alignment gauge and, well, it's almost exactly the same as the gun I just showed you, the Sig P320 with the Gray Guns trigger. It's just under 4 pounds. Feels very different. It's why it probably feels lighter. There's, again, almost no take-up, no reset. Very, very crisp, clean break. And again, I'll stand by the fact that that's the best striker fire trigger that I own. Here is the Sig P365. Bought this one new this year as well. Here's this trigger. It's got a little bit less take-up than the M&P on the table. Nice clean break. Nice reset. Really, really nice gun. This one is kind of between the two guns that you just saw, with this one being in the high end at just under 6 pounds, the Sig being just under 4 pounds. The P365 here comes in just under 5 pounds. So about a 4-pound trigger. I'm thinking it's, with continued shooting, it may get down in about the 4.5-pound range. And, this is pretty ideal from a trigger pull weight for a concealed carry. Really, really like this P365 trigger. The only other trigger that I'm going to show you is this first generation M&P Shield. You'll see it does have the polymer hinge trigger in it, but this one's had a trigger job done by Bowie Tactical Concepts. And you'll see it has not a lot of take-up. It's shorter than the M&P 2.0 on the table. Crisp, clean break. Very nice reset. But again, the pull weight feels great, but the pull weight, and it breaks almost identically to this gun at just under 6 pounds. So relatively, for a custom trigger, both these M&Ps have a relatively heavier trigger, heavier than some might like. but very appropriate for concealed carry. So the trigger was a bit of a disappointment. I'm considering my options. I might put the stock trigger spring back in. I might get the FSS kit just to make this a little bit more like my other M&P compact, the first generation that I have. But I might leave it the way it is, because even though it's a little disappointing, it's perfectly fine for concealed carry. I shoot it great. There's really nothing wrong with it. There would have been nothing wrong with leaving the stock trigger the way it was. The stock trigger is great. Again, it's just under 6 pounds and probably has less take-up than this gun with the Apex trigger in it. I'm just really happy to have the aluminum Glock-like trigger in this gun. In terms of other upgrades, I did upgrade the sights. Went with the TrueGlow TFX. That uses a combination of both fiber optics for optimum daylight visibility and tritium tubes for luminous night sight capabilities. It's a great combination. I first saw this on a buddy's M&P 2.0, one of the full-size versions in FDE, where those sights actually come stock, and I really liked them because in the daytime you had great visibility with fiber optics, and I liked the green and white contrast between the front and white sight. Thought that was great. And again, I thought the night sight capability was great too. I have, with traditional night sights, in some cases I have a lot of problems with them, and I'm going to bring back the M&P Shield. This has Trigicon HDs, and they're okay, but those front sights, the rear sight posts are really hard for me to pick up in the daytime. In the nighttime, they look great, but the rear sight dots are just a little teeny tiny for me. But I do like the front sight on it. Now compare that to the best night sights that I have, and I have them on actually two different guns. I'm going to go back to the Sig P3 here. This is a unique combination. The rear sight posts on this are straight Sig light night sights. The front sight, however, is the Sig X-ray. And I like this for a few different reasons. Again, in daytime visibility, the Sig light rear sight has a larger diameter. They're bigger, which my corrected vision eyes can pick up a little easier. The front sight has a nice color contrast with those rear sights. It's easy to pick up with the green color. I like the combination of them together very, very nicely for both day and nighttime visibility. These are fantastic. I set up my Sig P365 the exact same way. Again, Sig light night sights for the rear, X-ray front sight post for the front. And Sig will sell you a rear sight or a front sight. You don't have to buy them in a set. They're wonderful that way. They also will sell you different heights for the front and rear post, which is fantastic for someone like me that likes to shoot point of aim, point of impact with my irons, because that's how I shoot the red dot on my carry optics. I'm very used to putting the dot directly on the target or in the center of the target of where I want to hit, and that's where the bullet goes. That's one of the problems I have with the TFX from TrueGlow. They have what's called a combat hold, which means normally with all the other iron sights that I shoot for point of aim, point of impact, I line up the front and the rear so that they're completely flat. They line up equal height, equal light. You do that with this gun, with a combat. The sights are designed for combat hold. All of your shots are going to be 1, maybe 2 inches short or below your point of aim. And that was at very close range. shooting at about 3 yards, 10 feet, just for testing purposes. Why they come with a combat hold, I don't know. I guess some people like that. What I really have a problem is TrueGlow doesn't make any different sight heights. If I could have gotten a little shorter front post, that would have cured the problem. I could have, dialed in a lot closer to point of aim, point of impact, which would have made me very happy. From a concealed carry standpoint, again, a defensive weapon like this, it's going to be used in close range. Is an inch or so going to make a difference? Probably not. But by the same token, I'm not going to train differently for this gun. It's just one of those things. When I shoot it, if I can remember to shoot the front sight so that the top portion of the front sight is just a little above the rears, that cures the problem. But again, that's not how I shoot every other gun with iron sights. So I'm a little disappointed from that perspective as well. With the upgrades that I've made, where does this new M&P 2.0 sit for me in my collection? There's been some disappointments with the upgrades that I've made. I might look for some more choices within both the sights and the trigger. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road choice. Honestly, this is the gun that gets carried the most right now, the Sig P3 the iron sights are perfect for me. The trigger is fantastic. It is so small and so light, I can pocket carry this. It's the gun that, when I'm being lazy, quote-unquote lazy about CCW, and I just want to throw a gun in my pocket, it's the gun I grab. During wintertime, when I don't mind throwing on a belt with a holster, this is probably my favorite one right now. Great gun. For more of a duty service combat, that's my favorite right now, with the combination of the trigger, the sights, and everything that I've done to that gun. Really like it. I'd say this is probably a close second, just because of the ergonomics, just because at the range I shoot it almost as well. It's a perfectly good gun for me. The grip angle is not very different from the SIGs. It's close to a 1911. The SIGs are a little more neutral than that, but when I come up on target, it's pretty close. So I can carry this and use this gun in a defensive scenario and be, perfectly content and competent in doing so. So there you have it, folks. There are the upgrades that I've made to my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.